All right, what's up, everybody? If you are new to this channel, we are just a couple of guys that love the NFL. We love talking NFL football, and we love hitting those stories that the big media markets aren't going to touch. Whether it's a big team, small team, as far as media market, we want to talk about the good. We want to talk about the unknown. And so if you are an NFL diehard and you like the nitty gritty and also the big stuff, please consider hitting that subscribe button. This isn't our first channel. We started with Sports Talk Detroit, and then we moved to this. And today we're going to be talking about the New England Patriots. There are reports coming after all the spring practices. And there are some players that are on the rise, and there are some players that are on the fall. But there are a couple storylines coming out of this that I think is very, very unique, if I'm being completely honest with you. And so that's exactly what we are going to talk about in this. And one of those is a unique offensive line transition that we are seeing here. In an article out of The Athletic, they listed Caden Wallace, offensive tackle, as one of the players that is absolutely impressing in spring practices. In fact, even though he was drafted in the third round, he has been getting starting snaps over at right tackle. This is a surprise to me. This is a surprise shift because Michael Onwenu just signed a 3-year, $57 million contract. So you just assume, oh, well, he's getting $19 million a year. They're going to play him at right tackle, right? Not so fast, my friends. In the words of the great Lee Corso, I don't know about that. All right. As you can see here, Jared Mayo has suggested use the 5 best offensive linemen regardless of position. So given their struggle to find 2 competent guards, they might consider keeping Onwenu at guard while using Chukwuma Okorafor at left tackle and Wallace at right tackle. In other words, I think the best way to put this is if he can simply be better than the 2 guards that are currently in place, then it's something that absolutely has to be considered when looking at this roster. And I understand that. I think it makes sense to me. You want to have your best players available on the offensive line. You don't want to just have, okay, well, this guy plays this position, this guy plays this position, so let's go. If you look at the starting lineup right now, I'll try and zoom in on it a little bit more for you. All right, according to PFF, this is what they would say is the starting 5. All right, you have Okorafor, Strange. He's got that strange injury. So sorry for the pun. All right. You have Andrews, So, and Onwenu. So is very unique to me. He was drafted last year. He has a high athletic profile, but at the same time, what is he going to end up being? So if you can move Onwenu inside, which, by the way, of course he can play guard. And if you don't know the history behind Michael Onwenu, because I think he's kind of part of the linchpin in all this, is he played everywhere on the line at U of M. He played center, he played guard, he played tackle when he was in college, and he has continued to show that exact same, what's the word I want to use, flexibility. In his career, he has played 402 snaps at left guard. He has played 1,400 snaps at right guard, and he has played 1,500 snaps at right tackle. His best grades come, honestly, anywhere. So he can play any position well. But just because he has a ton of positional flexibility doesn't mean everybody else does. So if Caden Wallace, this monster, 6'5", 341, all right, if this guy can come out and show that he can be a right tackle, and Onwenu can move inside, and now you have strength upon strength upon strength, all of a sudden your offensive line changes. And don't worry, I'm getting into another riser here in a minute. But that is what's most important to have a successful team right now. This offensive line has to be great to elite in order for this offense to have any success. There is a good running back in position with Ramondre Stevenson. You have Gibson coming in as possibly a third down type back. All right, Mr. Fumble himself. All right, but on the outside, there's not a ton that is going to just make opposing defenses lose sleep at night. There's not. There's one player that I think can absolutely get there, and I think he has the ability. However, I'm not going to just sit here and say right now, like, yup, that's it. All right, so when we look at this offense as a whole, you have to understand, like, look, there's not a lot that's going to make you lose sleep at night if you're the opposing team. And that's what I said. So it all centers around the offensive line. Why does it center around the offensive line? Because when your offensive line is playing at an elite level, it gives the quarterback more time to make a decision. It gives the wide receivers more time to execute their routes and to get open. And it obviously opens bigger holes for the running back. But in the passing game, when you have a rookie quarterback, if he plays, and there's my big question, do you want him to play right away, or are you happy just letting Brissett come in, take some snaps, take some reps, play the first 8 games, 12, maybe even all 16, 17. See what I almost did there? All 17 games. Are you in that mindset and that let May watch and be a year 2 quarterback? Or are you no, we drafted him 3rd overall, we need him to play right now type of guy? So I think these are the type of things when you're looking at it, you have to understand, like, all right, maybe, just maybe a good offensive line solves a lot of the offensive woes that we have. All right, now, when we're talking about another riser that has happened in camp, you have to talk about Demario Pop Douglas. All right, he was the best and most explosive playmaker in practice this spring. Good things seem to happen every time he got the ball. Now, it's fair to concede that Kendrick Bourne, who didn't practice as he recovers, it's important to understand he wasn't there, so Douglas is going to be the best receiver, but it's still important strides for him. All right, he was the team's leading receiver. Yes, I know he only had 561 yards, but that was the state of the franchise. All right, so we need to see what he can do. The problem is you have a lot of players playing that same slot position, right? That is, I think, one of the issues that you run into. Kendrick Bourne likes to play out of the slot. KJ Osborne likes to play out of the slot. Juju Smith-Schuster likes to play out of the slot. But it's Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator's job, to get these guys in positions to succeed. It is, and the best player has to play in his strongest fit. I've seen Bourne on the outside. I have seen KJ Osborne on the outside. Juju Smith-Schuster, that is a 34-year-old and a 27-year-old's it's a 34-year-old body and a 27-year-old's brain, right? Because Juju Smith-Schuster is not there. He's just not there. By the way, just random, another guy that was saying it was good was Keyshawn Booty. Booty. Look, this is a guy who I don't know what happened. His senior year at LSU, or his final year, I should say, it all fell apart. He completely destroyed his draft stock. He was probably a first round or a top 10 pick. Then he ran and did the combine and made it even worse. And it's this flyer that you're taking on someone where it's like, man, we know it's in there somewhere. We just haven't seen it in 2 years. Maybe, just maybe, he can make something happen for this team. But again, I'm going to go back to the offensive line for a second, because even with Demario Douglas, who I'll talk plenty about over the summer, all right, even with him, you have to understand that the offensive line is what makes this run. So what does it look like? And I just want to remind everybody, Caden Wallace, your 3rd round pick, he's not a guy. His testing numbers were off the charts, right? He is the 119th most athletic offensive tackle ever to test. All right. His big knock was his height. All right. His big knock was his height. His weight's all over the place, by the way. He weighed in at 314 at the combine. PFF listed him at 340. That's what Penn State did. Anyways, weight is all over the place. But when you look at his speed, when you look at his explosion, his arm length is there. You want 34 inches. He has all the tools to become a good right tackle, and I feel differently about people out of Penn State. I think Penn State offensive linemen are not well coached in college. This is coming from a Big Ten guy, a Michigan fan. All right. I just don't. So I think a lot of times if you have someone that's coming out and he's already showing something, then you have to realize, like, all right, there could be something here. So there's just a couple of pop out. No pun intended with the Pop Douglas. I'm sorry for all the dad jokes and all the puns. But those are some guys that, hey, they look good in spring. Be looking at what they're going to look like when team starts up training camp here in mid to mid-late July. All right, thanks for watching. If you want more NFL content, keep watching our videos. Stay plugged in. And as always, see you on the next one.